So welcome, everyone. I don't know about you. It's been a tough time here. My heart getting broken open, like on a regular basis, again and again and again and again. Every time I turn on the news, my heart just keeps breaking, and it's breaking for everyone who is impacted by what's going on here. One of the pieces that we hold in unity that can be challenging at times is the fact that there is nothing and no one against us. And so there is no enemy here, even though it feels like there might be. And how do we open our hearts to be able to hold all of it? And that is the gift of our heart being broken open, is that it enables it to grow. It enables it to be larger sometimes than we ever thought was possible. And when our heart is broken open, we have some choices there in the breaking open, that we can choose for the heartbreak to disempower us, or we can choose for the heartache to actually empower us more. That we can understand that the pain that we're feeling is in direct correlation to how much we're able to love. And that if we focus on the love, that something else is possible. Because heartbreak can dampen or it can enliven us. And part of what we're being invited into is to understand this idea that I call true grit, because it's the grit, the grittiness of who we are. And those of us who have taken first steps already have an introduction to what grit is, but it's the capacity that we have within us to move through the challenges in our life in a way that is anchored in vision, in strength, in fortitude. And, this is also the season for nonviolence, ironically enough. That's what we are in the midst of right now. And as I was sitting with what it is that I feel within myself that I'm continually being invited to call upon, to activate within myself, this idea of grit, this idea that I am going to be enlivened by this rather than diminished by this. That I am going to stay anchored in the greater vision of what's possible rather than feeling defeated by what it is that I might be seeing right now all around us. And I keep thinking about, it's also Women's History Month. Last month was Black History Month. We had the Emmett Till Antilynching Act was passed last week. Yeah, we could have some love for that. That is so overdue, like mind-boggling overdue. And so I put together a slideshow of Black women through history that have stood as that beacon of grit, that have stood in the face of oppression, that have stood in the face of overwhelming systemic racism, and held a vision for something, held a vision for having a voice so that they could vote, held a vision so that they could not only vote, but then actually run, holding a vision that they would not only just run, but they would actually win, right? And so Marcus is going to be singing a song written by Beyonce, I Was Here. And at the same time, we have a slideshow that we're going to see the legacy that we all stand upon. This inspiration of what is grit, what is vision, what is fortitude, and what is possible when we are willing to step into that. Marcus.
I wanna leave my footprints on the sands of time. No, there's something that's something that I left behind. When I leave this world, I'll leave no regrets. Leave something to remember so they won't forget I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. I wanna say I lived each day until I died. I know that I had something in somebody's life. The hearts I have touched will be the proof that I leave, that I made a difference, and this world will see I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. I just want them to know that I gave my all, did my best, brought someone some happiness, left this world a little better just because I was here. I am here. I live, I love, I am here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. Let's all make a mark so everyone will know you are here. You live, you love, you are here. You did, you've done, you are here. You live, you love, you are here. You live, you love, we are here. We live, we love, we are here. We do, we've done, we are here. We live and we love, we are here. We do, we've done, we are here. We do and we've done, we are here. We live, we love, we are here. We do, we've done, we are here. We live, we love, we are here.
Marcus made that look effortless. And believe me, it's not. Are we inspired? So that is true grit. What we were seeing is true grit. And let me be clear for those of you who may not, the pictures were not so hard to find. Their names took me days. Days. Say their names. And there's every political spectrum represented there. There's Democrats, there's Republicans, they're all there because that is what we all get to stand upon. We all get to stand upon that kind of legacy, that kind of commitment, that true grit, which is the ability to persevere with passion, right? Persevering with great passion. And the thing is that grit, we can look at it as having 4 components to grit. So the first G is guts. takes guts, takes courage to show up in grit. It asks us to step outside perhaps our comfort zone. It asks us to step into a place that can make us and other people incredibly uncomfortable. And then we have the R for resilience, because you can't step into that kind of deep, long-term, progressive working for change without being knocked down again and again and again and again. And yet you keep getting up and you keep getting up and you keep passing the baton. What I love about that is just the legacy, the generations that have been committed, that are resilient, that are standing in their resiliency. And then initiative. There has to be that aspect within you that wants to step up and do something, to move out of our sense of powerlessness and to actually activate that. So that sense of initiative is part of grit. And then the last is tenacity, that stick-to-itness, that you are just going to keep going and going and going and going and going and going, that it is not something that is negotiable on some level. Now, often when we think about true grit, what might come to mind is John Wayne, right? That scruffy, I'm gonna make this happen kind of true grit. And that absolutely can be an element of how we can step into our grittiness, but I want to offer an alternative. I want to offer another way of thinking about what grit is. Grit does not have to be something that's hard. In fact, in order for us to truly step into grit, we have to be open. We have to be willing for ourselves to be changed, for what's going on in the world. In order for us to break free of comfort, we need to step into a new idea of what true grit is. And it would look something like this. That even in the midst of what seems to be barren, there is life. And that even in the midst of where there seems to be no hope, where there seems to be nothing to nourish, to feed, to resource and renew, that there actually is something, and it's right here within each of us. The seed of who we are is right here. And so what if grit isn't about closing ourselves down and feeling as if we're bunkered in? But what if grit is actually about opening ourselves up even more? So the psychologists that study this stuff, where they actually study grit, people have written papers on this, it's a whole thing. What they have discovered is that grit, number one, is a much better indicator of success than either talent or IQ. Grit is what actually moves us forward. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not resilient with your talent, then you're not going to move forward. If you're not able to take the initiative with your talents and your gifts, you're not going to be able to move forward. If you're not tenacious with your gifts, and if you don't have guts to step out into that uncomfortable place with your gifts, then nothing actually demonstrates from that. So grit is something that is so important, and what makes grit possible is what we call a growth mindset. Right? And this is where the idea of a challenge actually entices you rather than makes you fearful. Growth mindset means that we are willing to step out in some way, always, more than who we think we were the moment before. And this aligns so beautifully with what Unity knows and believes, because we believe that we are the divinity here, in time, in space, and that we are here for the revelation of our Christ self. We are here to reveal always more, never less, the truth of who we are. And that, by its very nature, is a growth mindset, that we're willing to embrace challenge, that we're willing to embrace the idea that we are a process, that life is a process, and that we are not hooked up on whether or not something is perfect, but we are driven by an ideal of excellence. Can you feel the difference between striving into excellence, which means that it's always a process that is evolving and growing? You are always going to be capable of more and more and more excellence. There's no end in that because we are divine beings. We are infinite in our nature. We're never done, you guys. I know it can be frustrating sometimes because we want to check a box and be like, nah, I got that covered. There's always more for us to discover about ourselves and the world. And so what if you didn't focus on perfection? Just breathe with me on that for a second. What if it wasn't about being perfect? What if it was actually about continually discovering how you are called to show up more fully, more passionately, persevering with passion? That is what the invitation is for all of us. Because grit is how we will change the world. And not grit where we get small and closed off, but grit where we are actually more open, that we're willing to show our heart, that we're willing to be the tender shoot that's growing in the midst of the desert. And that if that shoot doesn't make it, guess what? We can always grow another one. That's the resilience. That's where we continue to come from that place. So how do we do that? So in the quantum living class, we've been talking a lot about who have you come here to be? Who have you actually come here to be? Not who have you come here to not be? We all get very focused on who we're not going to be. What if we actually focused on who we are? Who we are? Who are you? How are you called to show up more passionately? The women in that video, in the slideshow, the people of the Ukraine, the people in Russia who are protesting and getting arrested because they're protesting. This is the willingness to show up as the truth of who they actually are, not who they aren't. And it asks that we become comfortable with our discomfort. It asks that us be able to navigate those very challenging, tricky spaces, places, and that we are willing to be uncomfortable. We're willing to not know what we're talking about. That we're willing to be a beginner's mind. That we're willing to be in growth mindset. So that we don't think that we already have to know all of it, but that we are willing to grow and to learn into it. So who have you come here to be? Because that's the vision that's going to pull you forward. So how do we move forward with grit? It's almost impossible to move forward with grit if we don't have a strong vision that is pulling us forward. So I like to say the pain pushes until the vision pulls. We all have, I hear the agreement in that. We all know that feeling, how the pain is pushing us and we're like, and then all of a sudden we catch, this is what this is about. There's a vision that you're able to grasp hold of. And how much easier does it all become when the vision begins to unfurl in your understanding? That's what we're being invited to anchor all the time. When we think about the passing of the Emmett Till Antilynching bill, there were generations holding the vision for that, and bringing grit, bringing tenacity, bringing their capacity to never let go of that vision, to be true to it, to the best of their ability. And does that mean that they always succeeded? No, but it means that they were continuing to grow. And as they grew, the understanding of the importance of voter rights, the understanding of how important it is to have representation became more and more important. And everything begins to shift in a way so that that bill can finally be passed. But the work is not done. That is just a footnote in the amount of work that needs to be done in this country to dismantle the systemic racism that is here. So can we hold that vision? Can we anchor that? And can we step into what is ours to do? What is the initiative that you are going to take? Personally, what are you going to do? Like that poem said, you can't stop the tanks, and you can't necessarily turn a missile into a bouquet of flowers. And while I'm thinking of it, I just want to give a shout out to Beverly Weinkoff, because I forgot to do it at the beginning of service, for the beautiful sunflowers that are here. I'm sorry?
Elizabeth Drew did that.
Oh, it was Elizabeth Drew. Thank you, Elizabeth. There she is. Which are a symbol of something. And symbols are part of our vision. Symbols are what pull us forward. Symbols are how we are able to navigate those places that feel so hard within all of us. So who have you come here to be? Have you come here to be an instrument of peace? Have you come here to be the living presence of love? Well, what are you doing about it? The other thing we talk about in quantum living is authentic actions. What is your authentic action that is about living into that which you are called to be? What is it that you are literally doing in the world? And then my last question is, how big is your vision? Are you playing small? Are you keeping it sort of close here because you've been hurt? Because dreams that didn't come true have broken you open in some way? I know I've experienced that. And there's a reticence to actually step out with that true enthusiasm, with that true, because what if it doesn't happen? Part of what makes grit work is that when things don't work, you don't take it personally. It's not you that's broken. It's not you. This is that idea of it not being about perfection, but it being about excellence. Can you take the fact that things did not necessarily work out the way you wanted this time around? And can you actually transmute that into a place of empowerment for yourself and for others so that you can continue to step forward as the light that we are called to be in the world? How big is your vision? Because I don't know about you, my vision is huge. My vision is that there is a world that works for everyone. Whoo! That is a huge vision. How do we do that? We each have to listen and know what is ours to do to make that a reality. What is ours to do? This is what I love about this teaching, because it's not about, yes, it is about sitting on our cushion and meditating, because we are acknowledging the divinity that we are, but it is also about putting that into action in time and in space. So that would be my challenge for you this week, this month, this year. How are you going to live into who you have been called to be? What new area are you going to step out into that makes you a little uncomfortable, that perhaps is not an area where you know already that you excel? Where are you going to step into and activate that growth mindset? And know that that call for inner excellence is all you need. That is how we move past mediocrity. That call for inner excellence. Because as Helen Keller has said, alone we can do little, together we can do much. It's not all on your personal shoulders. Look around at each other. This is a community, and there are communities all over the world that are saying yes to the same thing. Together we can do so much if you allow your vision to be big enough and brave enough, and you're willing to activate that grit within yourself from a place of love so that you can show up truly being the peace and the love and the joy and the beauty and the equality that this world is crying out for. So let's take a breath together. That's a lot. Can you tell I'm passionate about this? So I've got some affirmations that I'm going to make up on the spot, so you're all going to roll with me, right? So I am a divine being. I have a divine vision. And I am saying yes to that divine vision. I am gutsy. I am resilient. I have initiative. I am tenacious. I am gritty. And so it is. Amen.